started to descend. Flying from Hong Kong to LA, so I don't know what land there is between there, but I suppose as long as we land okay. But we're going to be landing in 10 minutes, and we're really dropping the expression.
Hi folks, my perspective here. What you're looking at is the emergency landing of a flight, a Cathay Pacific flight from Hong Kong to LAX. It was on July the 30th, and the Cathay Pacific flight had to make an emergency landing in the Aleutian Islands on the Shema Island, and it landed at a military base. Now this flight, very similar to the other one, baby gave birth on the plane. The issue's the same. And we're going to look at this in depth so that some folks can't come back and say, no, it's like this and it's like that. Look, the point is, the quickest and the straightest path is a direct flight from Hong Kong to LAX. That's on the green route. The plane in red, right, is going the long way around. It's not the same distance. So now the issue is, why would these planes travel that flight path? Because the shortest route would be a direct flight from Hong Kong to LAX. So if we look at some of the world's longest non-stop flights, they all go over the pole, whether it's on the west coast or the east coast. Now, the issue is there's a problem with time and distance. So let's look at time first. Right? If they're traveling this route. So for example, look, here's a plane. The plane is simply going to fly from 6 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock at sunrise. Right, on the opposite side. So in this case, it's day one. The plane's going to, the destination is on day two, right? And the light source is moving. So the plane takes off, right? It takes off at local time at 6 o'clock, right? Its destination, local time there, is at 9 o'clock. Where it took off from now is at 10 o'clock. Right, so ahead, they're a day ahead. So as it hits 12 o'clock, where you left off now, it's day two. Right, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. Destination is now 2 o'clock. Right, and now the sun's setting. He's flying towards his destination. Still day two. Right. Now let's just say this aeroplane had to make an emergency landing. Right. What would the time be when the plane made the emergency landing? Well, the local time would be 8:30. Right. No problems, no issues. It's simple. Let's say the plane didn't make an emergency landing and just continued flying, right? The time where he's flying to would tick over nicely. It's 11 o'clock now. Now it's 12 o'clock, midnight. It's day three now. And so as he continues his flight, he'll land at 6 o'clock in the morning. So there's no issues. Now let's have a look at a different scenario, right? We're looking at time. On this one, the aeroplane is actually moving, right? The sun is standing still. The aeroplane is actually moving with the disk. It's going to fly the same speed at the same time, a 24-hour time. Everything's the same. The only difference here is that the plane, is what they're telling us, the plane is spinning with the earth as the earth spins. So let's have a look. It's day one. The plane takes off at 6 o'clock. Alright, in the morning. The plane continues its flight. Destination time now is 9 o'clock at night. Right, it becomes 12 o'clock midday. where the plane is, right? His local time now is at 12 o'clock. His destination now, it clicks over to day 3. It's 1 o'clock in the morning where he's flying. His destination now, where he came from now, it's 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock at night. So do you see the issue already? Now what? Look at the plane. Now the plane is spinning with the earth. Now what happens is, say the plane has to make an emergency landing. It flies over the North Pole. Now you have serious problems. So the plane lands now. What's the local time where the plane lands? At 10 o'clock in the morning. 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. On what day? Do you understand what's happening? I'm going to go into a little bit of detail with this. Right? Now let's just say the plane didn't have to make the emergency landing, the plane just continues, right? And look at the plane, look at the direction the plane flies, look at the time. It's day 2 now, and as the plane flies towards its destination, right, so the amount of time for both was the same, the clock time. But we see that the time wasn't the same. Do you understand? If you're flying over the North Pole, it creates issues. So basically, look, this aeroplane flies from one end of the earth to the other end of the earth. 12-hour flight. In that time period, the earth does a half a rotation. That plane has to experience a 6-hour day, a 6-hour night. He's flying around the equator, right? You already see the issue. He's flying around the equator. He's flying around the dead center of the earth. Now, an aeroplane flying from north to south, he's angled a different angle. His speed, his spin speed, and the time for him would be totally different. You'll have different speeds. In other words, the time would be different for both aeroplanes. They would experience different time zones because they're spinning with the earth and the plane is traveling at a different angle. In other words, every flight path would have a different time relationship to its position and its speed on the ball earth. We don't see this on earth. Pilots and aeroplanes don't experience this phenomenon. Another issue is distance. You see, distance on a flat disk is not the same as on the ball earth. Now you put a spin on that ball earth and they'll tell you now the aeroplane is spinning with the earth. Now you've got distance, you've got time issues, and speed issues. You've got 3 issues that aren't accounted for in real life. It's time differences, speed, distances. So you think in this money motivated world that we live in, that airplanes are going to just simply fly the shortest route. So an airplane flying towards the North Pole, he's flying westerly or easterly rather. The other airplane, he's flying at a different angle. They'll have different time issues. You would have to calculate each route out and the time issues and the speed of the plane in relation to time and distance. You simply have to. Another issue is, let's look at distance. Look, this airplane is traveling in a flight path. The flight path goes around the center of the earth, right? Dead center. Now, if I change that flight path, I can angle that flight path up or down. It doesn't matter, because it's going around the center of the earth. Same distance. Nothing changes. Right? The only thing that will change is the speed of the plane and its time. The time that plane experiences. So, a plane flying around the top bit of the ball Earth, right? His circle would be smaller than a plane flying around the equator. And their angled around that ball, will all be different. Different speeds, different times, different distances. You cannot escape this. And we don't see this on Earth. Aeroplanes do not have this issue. So the shortest distance is a straight line, even on a ball. If I bend this around a ball, the longest route around the top is still the longest route. Do you understand? So if they're saying, well, the plane flew from Hong Kong and it went around that route, the plane took the long route. Why would the plane take this route? Why would they take this route when it's going to cause them major time issues? The answer is simple, is that the route is a straight line. The Earth is flat. There's the flat Earth map. That's the route that the plane is actually taking. So en route to the LAX from Hong Kong, the plane made an emergency landing in Alaska, on Aleutian Island, Samya Island, if my memory is correct. Do you understand? The shortest route, you be paying different airfares. So all airplanes, so the plane leaving from Hong Kong going to the east coast or the west coast of America, it's a straight line. They don't have time issues. If we look at the longest flights in the world, and they all go over the north, none of them experience the time issues. So, an aeroplane flies anywhere, it's a straight line. The plane leaves at local time 3 o'clock. He's going in that direction. He lands at 7 o'clock, it's local time, whatever the case is. It's because the aeroplane's moving and the sun is moving. The land is not moving, because you'll have all sorts of time issues, as we've already proven. So, the speed of the aeroplanes, the time issues, the distance issues, those three issues tell us that aeroplanes don't experience this issue. They don't have to calculate the angle on the ball Earth. It tells you the Earth is flat. The sun is moving. Now, we're going to have a look at this. Look, when you get an aeroplane, look out your window, look at the horizon, look at the clouds. Now, here's some time-lapse footage. Watch as the aeroplane rises. It crosses over the clouds in a straight line. Look. Forget what you've been told. What your eyes see and the reality in time and distance and speeds. If you see this out your window, going to the pilot, into his cockpit, he sees the flat ground in front of him. You look out the window on your left-hand side. The guy sitting there, he sees the exact same thing. Tells you it's flat. There is no curve. It's as simple as that. Now, I know for many people this is hard to endure because it's a bit of a shock to the system. Now, watch this time-lapse footage. Look at the sun. The sun simply moves away from the aeroplane. You see, if the Earth was a spinning ball, the aeroplane now would be spinning away from the sun. What would happen with the sun? Its path would be straight down, coming straight from the top of the window, straight down into the horizon. Look how long, for the entire flight, the sun sits on the horizon, because the sun is above the clouds. For the entire flight. Do you understand? Now watch the sun's moving away and it just simply gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now the aeroplane does a slow descent right? The sun's getting smaller and smaller. Watch the sun. Moves away from the aeroplane. It's as clear as daylight. Now the glow is still there, fills up the whole night sky from the sun, and that glow simply gets smaller. Look at the perspective in the land. Earth is flat, and the sun is moving. The aeroplane is moving, and the land is still. For example, in this footage, the aeroplane is flying over the flat clouds. The pilot's perspective, right? Now watch when the aeroplane turns, when the pilot turns. He drops below the clouds, it's a flat. Look at the perspective in the land, it's flat. If you had a ball in front of your face, and it was a big ball, if you turned your head to the right, what happens? The horizon of that ball cannot still be in front of you. And the aeroplane turns left, turns right, the horizon stays in the same place. That simple fact tells you the earth is flat. Look at the perspective. You see, the simple truth is that this runway is as flat as the earth is. The experience on the runway is the same as the experience on the clouds. It's the same. So you need to do some research. Do research into who controls the governments, who controls the education system, who controls the media. It's the same organization. Rome still rules the world. The Vatican and the Jesuits still rule the world. They have their machinery in place. The machinations is Masonic world order. They control everything. It's their money. It's their banks. And now they have a new idea, a new world order that's somehow going to save the earth. And it's all a lie. It's all a lie. It always has been absolute power and control at any cost. And the people that it rules over mean nothing to these people. We are just a source of income. We're the workforce. You're wasting your time voting. You're wasting your time believing their lies. The whole thing is it's a mechanism for control, and it's a mechanism of slavery, mental and physical slavery. So the good news is that the New World Order will not happen. Daniel 2:44 says that while they bring this into power, Jesus said that at that time the slaughter will be so great that if God didn't step in and bring it to an end, no flesh would be saved. And that's what's going to happen. It's going to come to an end. The Creator was going to stop it. And then Daniel 2:44 says God's kingdom is going to rule the earth, and we're going to be finally free from these wicked people. Cheers, thanks for watching.